Be here. As you know, I'm Sandy's daughter. Most of you know that. And then my sister, who's in the front row, who's always cheering me on, and my son, Austin, who's right next to her. They all came to just support me, and they always do, which is great. So it's great when you have family that supports you, and that's something that I'm going to discuss a little bit about what happened to me and how I kind of got to where I am today. I started being interested in health and wellness when I was very young. I was always interested in books and I was always interested in writing. But none of that ever came to light until I got so sick that I almost died. So 10 years ago in 2009, I had an operation, a C-section, and immediately after that operation, I felt significantly different. I couldn't figure out what it was. I couldn't figure out why it was happening. All of the doctors said I was great, I was healthy, I was ready to go home. And I got home, and 2 days later when I went to get my staples out, the doctor said, "Your blood pressure is so high. Are you feeling okay?" And I said, "I feel okay." And she said, "Lay on your side for 20 minutes. Left me there for about an hour. Came back in, took my blood pressure again, and said, "You need to go to the hospital because we think you're having a stroke." So, yes. So, I had just had a baby. I had my 2.5-year-old toddler at home. And now I was being carted off to the emergency room because they thought that I was having a stroke. They didn't know if it was something called preeclampsia. They had no idea what it could be. In the hospital, of course, they monitored me for 4 hours. And then they sent me home and they said nothing was wrong. It was not preeclampsia. It was not a stroke. This basically started the downfall of what had happened to me. From that point on, I had spikes in blood pressure, up and down, up and down. And then I started getting these other symptoms. I had lost about 30 pounds in 30 days. And it wasn't baby weight, it was all the weight. And I mean, I was looking really, really significantly scary. I had significant stomach issues. I had headaches, I was dizzy, I was nauseous, I was shaking, I had pain, I had tremors, I had ringing in my ears, numbness. I had so many different things going on, restless leg syndrome. None of this I had ever had before. Okay, so it was all of these different things combined, and it was making me really, really sick, and it was making me really scared. And I was trying to take care of him, and I was, trying to take care of the baby, and I was waking up every single morning, and I was doing everything that I had to do, but I was doing it very sick. And my family saw me go through all of this. So I had my sister who was worried about me. I had my parents who were doing their best to help me in the situation I was in, but they were worried about me. And then I had my husband he was working because you got to buy diapers, right? So during this time, I must have been in and out of the ER 5 times, from June to September, 5 times. I had seen cardiologists, endocrinologists, allergists, neurologists, any doctor that you could think of to figure out what's going on, I went to. And each one of them did every test imaginable. Even the ENT put me on a board, flipped me upside down, shoved cold water in my ear. It was horrifying. And eventually, all of these doctors said there was nothing wrong with me and that I had postpartum depression.
Oh my God.
Yes, I see you shaking your head. You recognize something in my story, right? Already? Okay. I did not feel that that's what I had. Not that, I was trying to get out of it or, I was too good for it. Not at all. I did not feel that I was depressed. But it got to the point where my life was literally spiraling out of control because I was so sick. I was scaring everybody. And I actually went out and purchased extra life insurance, and I wrote letters to my family that they still don't have. They're still hidden because I thought that was the end of me. I had something horrible they were not finding. So after September, which is when my grandmother passed away, I was worse. And I went to visit her at her grave, and it was November-ish. And I was sitting on her grave, and we had a series of like 3 earthquakes on Long Island. I don't know if you guys remember that. You guys remember? Okay, so picture this, seriously. I'm sitting on her grave, talking to her like, you gotta help me out because I'm really sick. Like doing the Hail Mary, everything. I'm like, please. And all of a sudden the ground is going like this.
Wow.
So I jumped up, drove myself home. I said to my husband, take me to the hospital because I'm hallucinating because my grandmother was just coming out of her grave. This is literally a true story. A true story. My husband was sitting outside. It was a beautiful day. He was sitting outside with Austin and JJ. Hi.
Yeah, Amy.
Hi, Amy. And my husband's looking at me and I am crying. I said, this is it. This is the end. This is the end. Take me to South Oaks. I'm done. And he's like, we just had a series of earthquakes. So I'm blown away. I'm like, something's wrong. Something is wrong. So I ended up going to see a psychiatrist because I figured, okay, all right, I really need to go. The psychiatrist listened to me for approximately 7 minutes. He told me I had a clear case of postpartum depression and untreated anxiety. He gave me 3 pills, said, as soon as you start taking these, you're going to feel great. You're going to feel better. I go home, I'm looking at my husband, I'm like, guys, I really don't think I should take these. I don't feel like this is depression. I wake up every morning. I have this need to take care of the kids. I have this need to live my life. I don't feel it's the same. And everybody was like, something's wrong, so just take the meds because we want to see you better. We want our Maria back. So I did. I took them, and I was awake for 9 nights. Oh. I was awake for 9 nights straight. Not a nap. I was awake, but not only was I awake, I wasn't tired. For 9 nights, I was awake. I was walking the neighborhood, midnight, 1 in the morning, 2 a.m., I'm cleaning the bathrooms, wide awake. And finally, my husband said, I think we got to call the doctor. Calls the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist says, oh, she's manic. You need to bring her in. We need to give her antipsychotics.
Oh, my.
This was the end for me. I said, there's no way I'm taking an antipsychotic because I'm not psychotic. I don't need them. I need them to figure out why I'm sick. Why am I shaking? Why am I vomiting? Why do I have migraines? Why are my ears ringing? Why am I dizzy? I need them to figure this out. So a couple of days later, once I was well again, I went into this research frenzy, something that I did not do before. I would just research for days, and I came up with a list of 10 different things that could possibly be going on with me. And I went to this doctor that I had been seeing. He wasn't really a regular doctor, but I saw him like 3 or 4 times during this period, and I said, I want to be tested for all these, and I gave him the list. I said, I have not been tested for these yet. And he looked at the list, and he said, you don't have any of these. You have postpartum. And I said, if you don't test me for these, I'm going to cause a scene in your waiting room because there's no reason why you shouldn't test me for these. I have insurance. I don't need any referrals. Test me for these. He said to me, hi.
How are you doing?
How are you? He said to me, I will test you for these and then I don't want you to come back to my office again.
Oh.
He basically was calling me nuts without calling me nuts. So, a week later, his receptionist calls me and says, oh, this is the office of Dr. So-and-so. We're just calling to let you know we received your blood work and you tested positive for celiac disease, Epstein-Barr disease, you're D3 deficient, you're B12 deficient, and you have anemia.
Oh, wow.
So, that started my journey to getting better. I then knew, I was relieved. So many people, when I speak to them, and they say they just found out they have a gluten intolerance, or they just found out they have celiac, or, you know, they can't eat peanuts. And they're so upset. They're so upset, especially with the gluten. They're like, my life is ruined. I hear it all the time. My life is ruined. How am I going to do this? And I look at them and I say, when I found out, I was relieved that this is what was wrong with me because I thought it was a tumor. I thought I was dying. I thought that I was severely mentally ill. And when I found out that this is what it was, the relief that came over me and my husband, we just did an interview about this actually, the relief that came over both of us, it was like, it was just a breath, you know, just a breath. And to know that there were things that I could do to help myself that didn't involve operations or medications or chronic doctor visits or dialysis or anything like that, that also was a huge relief. It was, I was happy at that point. And it took me 18 months to get my body back to where I needed to be, to get my brain back to where it needed to be, because I was still now on and off all these different meds that we had started because they thought I was postpartum. I don't know if you guys know anything about antidepressants. I didn't at that time. However, now I can tell you everything about antidepressants. But you can't just go off of them. My psychiatrist at the time was like, you go off this, go on this. Go off Zoloft, go on Paxil. Go off Paxil, go on Lexapro. And I had no idea that that was wrong. So all of my brain synapses in my head were firing, right? Because that's what the medicines do. Different medicines hit a different brain synapse and then they fire off. So it took 18 months to wean off of all the medicines that he had put me on. It took 18 months for me to heal my body through nutrition, because that's the only way that you can really heal when it comes to gluten and celiac. But on top of that, I also found out I had Lyme disease. So I had to do 5 months of antibiotic treatment, right? So you would think, okay, this is a horrible story. This is a tragic story. It knocked me down so bad. I hit rock bottom. But it's not, because all of those things that happened to me allowed me over the last 10 years to help hundreds of people. And had that not happened to me, I never would have been able to help the people that I helped. And so I hate that it happened because it was so painful for my family. But for them to see me go through that, they've been able to support me every step of the way. They cook a separate Thanksgiving dinner for me. My aunt just got married. She had a separate gluten-free cake for me. It wasn't even my wedding. They were able to come together and support me, and so I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for that experience, because now I get to share this with you guys. And some of you may be like, this has nothing to do with me, but some of you may be like, wow, I know so-and-so's aunt who has the same story. Let me go talk to her. Because there are so many doctors that are brushing this aside. When they can't figure out what's wrong with you, they get frustrated with themselves, or they just can't be bothered. It's not clear-cut cholesterol. It's not clear-cut, diabetes. It's not clear-cut whatever. And they're like, here, why don't you go take some pills? And pills are great if you need them. They're helpful. But if you don't need them and you have them, they're hurting you. So fast forward to me today. I did get my certification in fitness training, youth fitness training, nutrition consulting, wellness coaching, and I have helped hundreds of people figure out things that may have been wrong with them by reading their blood work and listening to their symptoms, where doctors weren't able to find those things. And I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be a doctor. I just look a little deeper than the average doctor. And there are great doctors out there. We have Dr. Val, who's fantastic, and she helps all of us. But that's what catapulted me to where I am today. So, about gluten, I don't know how many of you know anything about gluten. Anybody? I know you guys do. No one else? Do you guys know what gluten is? Sure. You do? Okay. Does anybody have a gluten problem that they know of?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sensitive.
Okay. You're sensitive. May I ask you what your symptoms are?
The stomach,
Okay.
always bloated, I can drink water and I seem to blow up.
Blow up. Yeah. Okay.
Very often tired.
Fatigue is huge.
Yeah. I do have a thyroid problem.
Okay.
So,
Hashimoto's?
No, just low.
Okay.
It's in the normal range, but for me, normal was not normal.
Because it was affecting your body.